Sanhedrin Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, judges and advocates, Yetzei hadin emet לאמיתו. The idea of truth in the Torah is an important one to clarify. It has to exist on at least two dimensions. There's objective truth, that means that the truth is aligned with Hashem's will as far as we're able to determine through the Torah, not only the Torah, the 5 books of Tanakh, but the Torah as it's developed and evolved till today. So using the Torah as a framework, we can establish whether something is emet, whether something has truth in terms of it being aligned to Hashem's will. But there's another dimension, and that is subjectively truth. It also has to feel true. There's a requirement that it subjectively also fits. We talked about that idea of fitting in the concept of truth. So the Mishnah, we start a new parak, which is Zeh Boreh, which establishes the process or the procedure for establishing a Beis Din in a situation where somebody doesn't want to go to the formal Beis Din, they don't trust the formal Beis Din, or there isn't a formal Beis Din, a regular court of law of full-time dayanim. So you can make an ad hoc Beit Din, and the way it's done is the claimant chooses a judge, the defendant chooses a judge, and together they choose a third judge, or the Mishnah says, the Chachomim say, Shnei Dayanim Borerim Lahem Od Echad, the two judges that each has selected agree together on the third judge, and that's how we do it today as well. The Gemara goes on to explain exactly what the Mishnah means, and says, Mai Shnad Avdi Hachi, what's the reason to do it this particular way? Why don't we just have 2-3 competent judges, and if you want to hear if we want a case to be heard, you've got to come to these 3 competent judges. Why this whole process of choosing? Amri b'ma'arav mashmed Rabbi Zera. In Eretz Yisrael, they used to say in the name of Rabbi Zera, mitoch shezeh boreh lo dayan echad v'zeh boreh lo dayan echad u'shneim borerim lahed od echad. Because of this process of each one choosing a judge and the 2 together choosing the third one, yetzei hadin לאמיתו. Judgment comes out in its full truth. And the 2 difficulties in the phrasing, this idea of לאמיתו. Why doesn't it just say yetzei din emet? A true justice will emerge, a true law will emerge. What's לאמיתו? The din will emerge, the law will emerge according to its truth or his truth. What does that mean? And Rashi's girsa is even more. Rashi's girsa is yetzei din emet לאמיתו. The din will emerge true according to its truth. What does that mean? And also yetzei, what does this mean? What does the word yetzei mean? It will emerge, it will come out. Why doesn't it say v'shnei borerim lahen od echad? And the result will be yagia l'din emet, and the result will be yavi l'din emet. What's yetzei? Explains Rashi 2 things. Again, emet on 2 levels. Number 1, the tzaiti bali dinim. The litigants will accept the judgment. The savar hachayav harei ani ba'atzmi b'irati ha'echad v'im haya yachol la'afech b'zchuti haya ma'apech. You see, there's a problem. If we say that truth has to also resonate with the subject, with the individual, how does it work when 2 individuals have an argument? I say it's mine, you say it's yours, we go to Beis Din, and Beis Din says it's yours. How do I resonate with that truth? Says Rashi, by going through this process where I appointed one of the judges, I will say, even if I've lost the case, I chose one of the judges. And if there was any way he could have found in my favor, he would have. And he would have persuaded the others. So I feel satisfied. Number 2, and the dayanim feel comfortable arguing in favor of both. They look at the case from both perspectives, because they're well represented. There's one from each side, so they can have an honest discussion and look at it from all facets and angles. So there's a subjective side that the litigants feel satisfied, even the litigant who loses, and there's an objective side that a better din comes out, a more correct legal solution is found because of the way we've constituted this Beis Din. The Rosh is very concerned about a tendency to misunderstand and misapply Rashi. And he says, Mipnei sheyesh chasari dat to'in b'divrei Rashi. There are people who make a mistake in the words of Rashi. Ulameidim mimenu shehadayan yesh lo la'afech b'zchutoto shebirer v'omed b'mkomo l'chapot b'dvarim asher lo kedin. They believe that the judge's role is to be an advocate. That the reason I've chosen this person is so that he should advocate on my behalf. says the Rosh, and that's not the intention. He's been chosen as a judge, not as an advocate. So this is the construction of a Beis Din is very different to the way we work in many other legal systems, where you do have an advocate on each side, and then you have the Dayonim. We sometimes in Batei Din in Eretz Yisrael, we use a To'en Rabbani. We use an advocate just to help the litigants. But the structure of the Beis Din, the way the Mishnah structures it here, is that you don't need an advocate. If you've appointed the judge, you don't need an advocate. You'll put your case, and the judge will go through it carefully. And as a result, when choosing a judge, there are some people who choose crafty, sly people. They choose lawyers to become judges. And that's not the idea. And they quote this Rashi as the reason for it, because they've got to find somebody who knows how to twist the law in my favor. No, says the Rosh, v'chalila v'chas, chas v'shalom, lo diktaku bidvarav. They didn't learn Rashi correctly. Shekatav desavri harei ani birarti. The way Rashi says, and each one will think, well, I chose him, so surely he did what he could. Ki hu sover kach. It's true that's his opinion. Sheyapech b'zchuto yoter b'zchut acher mitoch zeh tziyet ledinim. Aval hadayan atzmo chalila lo. It's true. He will feel satisfied. He will think, I appointed the judge. How can I complain? I appointed one, he appointed one, and we all agreed on the third one. How can I complain? So it's a good strategy to bring the litigants to compliance. And that's Yetzei. The law will come out. The law will be executed in a way that is true. But if my judge would have persuaded, seduced his colleagues into a view that he himself knows is not a true view, but it supports his client. In other words, if the judge looks at the litigant as his client and tries to swing the Beis Din in favor of his client, he's over an Issur D'Oraita, he's transgressing a law of the Torah of Matei Mishpat. What it does mean is, what it means is, since I appointed this judge, mevin dvarav la'ashuro, he understands me better. It's not because I've told him anything that I haven't told anybody else, because the litigant isn't permitted to have a quiet conversation with one of the judges. He's not permitted to do that. So it's not that I've prepared the judge. It's just the fact that the judge feels a connection to me, that I've appointed him. He looks at it through my lens. He looks at the issue. He understands what I'm saying better than the other. And if he can find a legitimate point in favor of this person, he engages in debate with his friends, and the other one does the same thing. It emerges, nothing is then hidden. Everything comes to the surface. Everything comes onto the table. And the third one listens to the conversation of the other two. He doesn't engage in the conversation. He listens to them arguing it out. And then he makes a decision. Hadin laamito. And that way the din comes out in truth. So not to think that Rashi is suggesting that the judge that each appoints is an advocate for that person. Their role is to be judged. They must judge what is true, what is correct according to the laws of the Torah. But because they've been appointed by each litigant, there are two advantages. Number one, the litigant feels satisfaction. And number two, the judge will look at it through the lens of the person who selected him, not distorting the law in any way, but just understanding it. Everything is multifaceted. Whatever one sees is a perception. One doesn't see everything. We don't know everything. They say whatever you hear is an opinion and whatever you see is a perspective. And to have both people there with both opinions and both perspectives, the third one has a better opportunity to be able to decide the halakha correctly. That's how the Rosh deals with Rashi, and very concerned that people are drawing incorrect conclusions from Rashi. Tosfos brings the Rivan. The Rivan is very important. The Rivan is a son-in-law of Rashi. So we know the Tosfos, the people we know from Rashi's family, are the Baalei Tosfos, the Rabbeinu Tam, and the Rashbam, and who we've learnt and become familiar with, and later on Rashi's great-grandson, the Re. So we know his grandchildren, and we know his great-grandson, and that's the Tosfos that we have, with the other Baalei Tosfos added. But the Rivan is in between. The Rivan bridges Rashi and the Baalei Tosfos. He's Rashi's son-in-law, so he's in that middle generation, and he's seen as the bridge between the school of Rashi and the school of Rashi's grandsons, the Baalei Tosfos. The Rivan is very, very close to Rashi. He works on Rashi's work, edits Rashi's work. He's a very close Talmud of Rashi. So much so that in Makos and Daf Yutes, we'll get to it soon, you'll see in the Rashi, there's a point at which it says Rashi passed away at this point and he didn't finish the Masechta, and the rest is the Rivan. So they decided to put the Rivan's parish, because it's closest to Rashi, to finish Masechta Makos. And you'll see that the Rivan is a little longer than Rashi, not as wordy as the Rashbam is, but a little bit more wordy than Rashi, as we'll see when we get there. Why this is all important is because the Rivan says the following: Pirish HaRivan she'afilu hachayav yipara beratzon. Even the one who loses the case will pay up willingly. Now, there are some people who want to say that the Rivan is disagreeing with Rashi. Rashi says, Tetzaiti ba'alidin, they'll obey. And the Rivan says not only will they obey, they will do so willingly. But I don't believe that it's a machlokes. I believe the Rivan is explaining Rashi in such a way as to avoid the Rosh's problem, so that you understand Rashi correctly. He's explaining his father-in-law. When Rashi says, Tetzaiti ba'alidin, he doesn't mean reluctantly they'll accept it. It means she'afilu hachayav yipara beratzon. Not just because he thinks he's got somebody there who sees it his way. V'yomar kushta dayani. He will say this Beis Din made a correct, true judgment. He will have complete confidence in the outcome of the Beis Din. שאני בעצמי ביררתי אחד, ואם היה יכול להפוך בזכותי, היה מהפך, לפעמים ראיית המשמע כך, מהפירוש שמתוך שבירה זה שלו וזה שלו, שניהם השלישי, יצא הדין לאמיתו בלא עיוות. It seems that it's not just that they will accept it, it's that the din really comes out in a straight way, in a way that is so straight that they accept it, not because of the strategy. The way the Rosh learns it is that Rashi is saying, this is a strategy to get the Baalei Din, to get the litigants aligned with the outcome. So it's a good strategy. Says the Rivan, it's not a strategy. This is the way to get to the emes, such an emes, such a truth, that even the loser says, I've got to accept this is the truth. That's the way it is. And in that we understand the very nature of the Dinei Torah, of the whole laws of the Torah and the legal system. We always think of it's to settle a dispute. But yes, in practice, in 99% of the cases, it's to settle the type of dispute where this one says it's mine and this one says it's mine. But there's another layer when it comes to Baalei Torah, to Torah-dika people, to people who go to court of an issue. What is the issue? The issue is, I don't want it if it's not mine. Why would I want something that isn't mine? I don't want something that has come to me illegitimately. So based in, I want you to decide who it is so that, God forbid, I don't land up with something that isn't mine. And the other person says, and I don't want something that isn't mine. I believe this is mine, but maybe I'm wrong because you also believe it's yours. So a based in is there to decide the emes. Whose is it? Because the relationship, as we learned in the Bovis, Bovechama, Bovametzia, Bovabasa, we learned many times, that connection between an owner and the article he owns is more than a legal connection. There's a cosmic connection as well. And Beis Din needs to establish who is the true owner. And once I've got a Beis Din that I have confidence in, then kushta dayani. They come out with a conclusion, I'm relieved, even if I'm the loser, that they have saved me from owning something that isn't mine. And we saw what happened in the flood when the whole world had to be destroyed because people had things which weren't theirs. And it was impossible to unravel the whole system because there'd been so much dishonesty. We don't want that dishonesty. Each person wants to know what I've got is truly mine. If anybody has a claim, there's a valid Beis Din to fill it out. And this idea that truth has to be not only something that you can say, why is it true? It's true because Choshen Mishpat Siman such and such, Sif such and such, that's what it says. That's dogma. This is not about dogma. Truth has to sound and feel true as well. And only this morning I was learning a Vilna Gaon on the Posuk, V'ra'u kol amei ha'aretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha. Posuk says in Sefer Dvorim, and all the nations of the world will see that the name of Hashem is upon you, And the Chovas Halvovos learns this not only as a national statement, that the Jewish people will be seen as carrying the name of Hashem, V'yiru mimeka, and they will fear the Jewish people. No, the Chovas Halvovos says each person, this is on each person has this obligation. And then the people of the world, the non-Jewish world as well, will see that Hashem is on you, is called upon you, that you're connected to Hashem, and that you reflect Hashem's presence. And if you look at the trop, it doesn't make sense. It should say V'yaru mimeka. The punctuation under V'yaru should be a mercha. It should be bracketed together as one phrase with mimeka. V'yaru mimeka, they will fear you. Mimeka is the object of the sentence, the object of the phrase. It should be V'yaru mimeka, but it isn't. It's V'yaru, and they will fear. Mimeka, from you. Explains the Vilna Gaon, they will fear God. Mimeka, and it will be because of you. You will have brought spiritual awareness into the world by the way you behave, by the connection you have with Hashem, and by the world seeing that connection. It's not good enough just to be connected. It's not good enough just to be religious. It's not good enough just to be observant. One has to have the kind of relationship with Hashem that an independent observer from another nation can look at you and say, wow, I feel Yirah Shamayim. I feel Yirah Shamayim because I've seen you. And I've spoken to you often about the experience of sitting in the presence of Gedolei Yisrael and feeling that you're in the presence of Hashem. And I've said to you, I've never seen Hashem, but I've sat with somebody who clearly is seeing Hashem in front of him. You can see on the face that this person is in the presence of Hashem. And to be able to see that on a Jewish person, that their life is one that is conducted in the presence of Hashem, brings them to V'yaru, they will fear. Mimeka, and it comes from you. So also when a Beis Din makes a decision, it's not good enough for them to say, we're satisfied with the decision, it's according to halacha. If it's really true, the litigants, even the loser, should feel satisfied that the justice has been true and that he's been saved from doing anything that would be improper or incorrect.